Hey there everybody, Wayne D here, and welcome to the website. It's WayneD.com, and we're looking at this week's new star, Jazz Janawatananan. It's 6 syllables, that last name, so you could say, if you break it up, it's Janawat, and then and on. Janawatananan. Alright, so you got that? Now, let's watch this interesting golf swing. So when you look at this a few times, the thing that you're gonna notice the most is the way the club shifts from where it is at the top. On the way down. So check that out. So that's a large flattening of the club, and it keeps going so that by the time it gets, now obviously with the camera up in the air there, it's going to be, we're not measuring anything, we're just sort of showing you how the shaft is going from relatively on plane here to very flat of the plane. It's going to come down. You can see the blur of the club head here, so it's probably a tiny bit inside of his hands, but watch how he gets that thing around. So he ended up as 14th place in the PGA Championship, which is, he has won 3 times in Thailand, and he won the Singapore Open, which is a Japan Tour co-sponsored event. So he's in the top 100 in the world and creeping up. He might be in the top 60 now. So let's take a closer look at this and see what we get. So the first thing you'll notice, a pretty conventional setup as far as posture. Don't have a good face-on view to see what kind of grip, but you can surmise it's fairly neutral by the way the face appears versus the wrist angle. So in the takeaway, we're going to see a fairly abrupt pull-in of the grip toward the body. And I had another, here's a shot of him from an odd angle. Watch the grip. We're looking down here. Now watch the grip. It's going to come in. It's almost going to hit him in the leg right there. So he's got that little trigger. He's got the knees bending a little bit. It's going to pull the club in, and you can also see, if you watch the left hand, you're going to see the left forearm pronate. And that's going to swing the club face open, but that club is definitely underneath the hands. So standard instruction would say, let's get the club up on the plane, because this thing is going to whip around way behind you, but it doesn't, because he's going to employ a couple different things here. If you watch, he's going to stop pronating his left forearm, and he's going to lean down into the backswing, and it's going to steepen his shoulder turn. So both of these things are going to be helping the club not to whip around behind him, but now to start lifting up more vertically. So there goes the upper trunk. You can see it pitch well forward and down. So again, most of the time that club slings around the ground like that, it's just going to keep going over here more, and eventually look like this at the top, but not here. So he's got the left forearm rotating early, and then not so much here. In other words, it's going to keep that elbow facing the ground more. It's going to get the club, with the help of the upper body lean, it's going to get that left arm more vertical, and the club is not going to go up and across. Alright, so if that wasn't interesting enough, Now again, the camera's way too high and it's going to skew these visuals, but again, it's pretty evident to see that in the downswing, he's going to pull the grip behind him. So if you start looking at what's happening with his trunk, got a couple other shots that are going to show his rib cage extension is pretty amazing. And when he starts down, his spine bend is going to pull that right arm down behind him. You can see his knees are threatening to get way out from under him. His butt's a little bit off the line. And that club is flat. So I would call his downswing, that's a perfect example of what I would call a helicopter move with the shaft. So here's the club head. Look where it goes. Now it's over here. So I mean, that thing is really that thing has worked horizontally sideways. The right arm is behind him. So now this just seems like he's going to hit the ball from like 10 degrees in to out. But watch what happens with his legs. He's going to take the right leg and just twist and fire it. Whoops. He's going to fire that leg up and into him over here. Let's get rid of some of these excessive lines. The arm, the right arm, is right up against his side. So as opposed to adducting the right arm in a combination fashion where the right arm would drive down and forward, the right arm is driving almost straight down. So this is what you would call a vertical, or sort of a pure adduction, where everything is moving down. It's going to get behind him. Just doesn't look like it's going to work. And now watch the rotation in the upper trunk here with the right arm. I mean, how many guys do you see with the right arm that bent coming into impact with a driver? I mean, he's just about to hit this thing and his arm is like that. And then, of course, watch the feet, right? So that right leg, which is really driving hard forward, but it's also twisting. If you watch that very first move forward from the top, so you can see the rotation in here. The right leg is going to kick toward the ball for a while. That club is still back here, real flat. And now he's just going to shoot up on the left leg, drive the right leg up and in. So now you see so this is where the force plates would be reading crazy things, because I mean, how much ground force can you get under that left foot? It's not barely on the ground. Now he's not going to be able to finish like this. He'll fall over. So watch where his left foot goes now. He's going to move it to where he can balance himself into the finish. So again, if you watch the general movement with the lower body here, right hip's going to stay against the wall there. It's going to push off. He's going to get under himself, and then he's going to shoot it back until he just about finishes back in it at the end there. So very interesting. Let's look at a couple other swings. Oops. So we get the feel for this. It's low and around and then up. He's going to lean into it, and then he's just going to turn it and flatten it. So when you look at what's happening here, with with his rib cage and spine. It's crazy. And then on the way by, this is another one of these positions that if I ever even tried to get into that, you'd have to call 911 for me. So, pretty wild. But so he was producing ball speeds right around 170 with the driver. But the very cool thing is how he gets the club from seemingly stuck behind him to rotate back in front of him. So you'd have to say that his use of left forearm supination is going to be great to get that club to square up from there. Get another driver shot here. So that's jazz, and then one more from the front. Now, for all the people that think you gotta lift up in the backswing, notice the left heel planted, notice the right foot squared, and that sets him up to be able to rotate the pelvis. There you go.